What's happening, currency lovers? It is another weekly video. I say weekly because I'm weak at making a ton of videos on time. We're going to do another wallet search video. Kind of had a long day today of buying supplies for work and stuff, so I came out with a lot of cash, dollars, and different denominations and stuff. So let's go ahead and, like we usually do, let's go through them and see if we find anything really cool or fun, collectible, whatever it is. Take a sip of my coffee. I'm drinking coffee at like 9 o'clock at night. Alright, so some of these, obviously, these are all circulated bills. I got them in chains throughout the day today. So I figured it'd be a cool thing to look through and kind of show you what I look for and things like that. If you watch any of my other videos, then you kind of know what we look for. But nevertheless, here we go. So we got a $1 bill here, Series 2013. This one's actually in pretty good shape. As you can see, it's printed. There's no misalignments or anything. As you guys know from watching other videos that I make, I look at general print, how it's printed on the bill, see if there's anything that really jumps out at me, and then I transition over to looking at the serial numbers to see if they match up. I look at any sort of things with the serial numbers or the bill itself. So for instance, one that I showed in a previous video was where the Department of the Treasury seal was just printed way off center. So that's a really cool pseudo error in a way. But for a thing to really be a crazy variety, it would have to be pretty dramatic. It would have to be just way printed off, or the whole bill would have to be shifted. But this, as an example, would show that there's nothing wrong with this bill. There's nothing collectible about it. So, you know, when we look at the reverse side of the bill, it's all printed and oriented correctly. And, you know, you can see little things like where somebody pinned it up to somewhere, things like that. Moving on to the next one. Good repetition in this one. What's cool about some bills too, this is not one of them, but I like bills that you can read them both upside down and right side up. That's a really cool variety of serial number, fancy serial number if you collect those. Another Series 2013, so same series, very similar, albeit far off serial numbers. As we know, kind of different, different letters in the Federal Reserve. This one's for Richmond, Virginia, is E. And, nothing really jumps out at me on this bill. Let's look at the reverse of it. Nice coffee stain on the back here. Ironically, I'm drinking coffee. This looks like a smudge from a band. From the bank is most likely what that is, just for it being centered like that. And generally, that's pretty common with a lot of bills that enter through the bank and now into circulation. Let's start with the obverse of this bill. It's a good repetition here. Everything but that random 7 that's in the middle there. It would have been kind of cool to have just 6s and 4s, or, a combination there of maybe a trinary note. This is another one from Richmond, Virginia. This is 2009 series. So slightly different. You can see slight differences in the bills as far as what's printed on them. But 2009 and 2013 had really no, if any, design changes. So nothing crazy there. We're looking for design changes coming out in 2020 or 2021. I mixed the dates up, but correct me in the comments below of when they're going to put out the next series of bills. I think it's 2019 or 2020, maybe something like that. Anywho, this one's been folded, so that obviously detracts from value right there. Somebody commented on a previous video that I didn't say anything about a bill being folded or anything like that. I try to comment about that, but it's kind of self-explanatory when it comes to any collectible, whether it be vinyls, comic books, trading cards, so on and so forth. Action figures, whatever. And especially with currency, coins included, precious gems and jewelry, these are, of course, the outside appearance, the aesthetic of the bill is a big factor in whether it's going to be valuable, whether it's variety or error or nothing. So if you want a premium above face value, of course, the bill needs to be in pretty good condition. Little bits of folds here. Like I said, they are circulated bills. It's got a little bit of an over ink on this 0 there. Let's zoom in on that. You can see where the 0 is a little bit off printed. It's not printed correctly, but nothing dramatic enough to be an error or variety bill. No miscuts, no misprints. Everything seems to be pretty in order. Moving right along. Nothing here. And I'll kind of go a little bit quicker now that we're seeing these bills are kind of eaten up pretty bad. Nothing collectible on the serial numbers. This one's for Philadelphia, is the C, Series 2009 also pretty beat up, so nothing fancy serial number. This one's nice and folded over in my wallet, but beat up. We'll just move right along. Let's check the reverse of that one. Nothing crazy. On to a Lincoln. This is a newer one, 2013, newer as in, a few years ago. For instance, this is a good example of a bill with a serial number that can be read right side up, albeit the 8, on these 8s, it's annotated in a font that puts the 8, the bottom of the 8 larger, but as you can see, you can flip this bill and read the serial number one way or the other, either starting with 6s or starting with 1-8. So that's really cool. I like stuff like that. Set that aside. Almost a trinary note. I guess it'd be a quad note if you really want to call it that. This is an older $10 bill. This is 2001, so it's pretty crazy to think that this is 17 years old already and has been out there that long. I love older 10s. They're a little bit more simplistic in their design, which I enjoy. And we look to see maybe the 10s changing up when they do a graphic change on bills coming out later on in the next couple of years. Same here, almost a trinary note, but nothing nuts. They match up. This is a newer 5, 2013, like the previous one. $20 bill, a little bit older one, 2006 series. As you can see, it doesn't. $20 bills are all printed in the same area, so you don't. When it comes to the Federal Reserve seal, you're not going to have a letter to annotate that. So, what reserve bank that is. So, that's the difference there as far as why that's not in that seal. Same deal. This is a 2013 though, so a little bit newer version of that bill. No real design changes, albeit down here they did change up a little bit of the composition of what they do and the anti-counterfeiting measures they put on the bill, but nothing crazy. We have a $100 bill. This is a newer one. Well, newer as in 10 years ago, but this is when they first started implementing the inlaid stripe here. That's for counterfeiters and kind of thwarting them. And they also changed up, of course, the actual graphic of the bill. But this is actually a really good condition $100 bill. Another thing that's cool is in these 20s that are, hundreds that are annotated there's actually a small constellation that's found right, I think it's right here. That's also one of those measures to keep people from faking these bills and putting them out into circulation. Nothing crazy, we'll move on. Another $20 bill, 2013 series. Little bit of over ink here and then a lack of ink here, but nothing crazy. We'll kind of bypass that. Like I said, the seals look fine on this one. Reverse side of the bill. Same thing here. There's a constellation found up in the 20s. You can't really see it, but it is kind of right up in here. And that's another one of those methods to thwart counterfeiters. This bill's a little more beat up. This one's a 2013 also. So same signatures at the bottom, Secretary of Treasury, Treasurer of the United States. They're all annotating that it's a legal tender note, Federal Reserve note, so on and so forth. Everything looks to be printed pretty appropriately. Borders look fine. And I'll have another video coming out that I'm making, actually, made the other day. I got to finish editing it, that talks about miscut and misaligned prints. And a friend of mine actually found a really good example of something that I use in reference to that. So check that video out also. Same thing with 10s. They do not annotate a letter here in the Federal Reserve System seal. And everything on this bill seems to be printed pretty appropriately. It's a Series 2013 annotated down here on the left-hand side above the 10, featuring Alexander Hamilton. Everything seems to be printed fine. So move on from that. Another Lincoln. Been waiting to find a really fancy serial number lately. I haven't found any major repeats and stuff like that, except for when I get bank straps. So maybe I'll go back to doing that as far as trying to find collectible notes. This one's torn up in the corner. So as far as a value, appropriation of that, if this was a variety bill, say it was a ladder serial number or something fancy or some sort of miscut, that would, of course, detract from the premium over the $5 face value of this bill. So, hey, moving on. Same thing Let's go to this dollar. Very high serial number, but this run right here for Series 2013 was quite large, so this larger serial number doesn't really mean much unless it's way up there. I believe there's 9 million and something printed somewhere around that, so unless it's way up there, not collectible. This has got a lot of smudges and stuff that aren't related to printing. It looks like either from a strap or a stamp at the bank, something like that, so we'll move on. Getting down there, only have 2 more bills left, so bear with me. This one's close. I wish this was a 9. That would be a little bit nicer of a bill. Looks like it was either washed or got wet in a pocket during the rain or something like that. You can tell by the depreciation in the color here in the center, and kind of just the way that it has a wrinkle to it. Also the feel, if you could feel it. You know, just reach your hand through and feel it. But nothing to see here. And we actually have kind of a lack of ink, but it's not enough. It's not pronounced enough for it to make a big difference. This is all printed pretty appropriately. This one's printed kind of far over, but if you see that previous video, I'll put a link in the description box below of it not touching that E whatsoever. It's a better example of a kind of an off print. Verse seems fine. Looks like somebody actually folded it into an airplane at some point from this V here and how it has a center line. We can tell that. Last but not least, nothing crazy on this one. So the only thing I really found was this this bill up here, which still isn't massively collectible. But we had a lot of fun looking through stuff. This one doesn't really seem to have anything crazy on it. It's also printed pretty appropriately. Serial numbers match up and aren't anything fancy. Seals are printed appropriately. The only thing I can really see is maybe a lack of ink. Typically, this seal is printed over top of this 5, so it's actually quite interesting. But as you can see on all 5s of that series, it's kind of a common thing, although if you notice, this seal is a lot more pronounced on this upper bill than it is on this lower bill, so that's kind of nice, but it's not very collectible, although I'd say it's probably the prime peach of this search through of what we've found is a little bit of a lack of ink and nothing too crazy. So serial number that can be read in reverse, upside down, right side up. A little bit of a crazy printing on the old seal here on the $5 bill. Thanks for checking out another wallet finds. Check out my other videos on bills and currency you can find right in your pocket, your purse, your wallet, your backpack, you know, behind your dog's ear, that's worth something more than its face value, or is just simply collectible and fun to hold on to. Thank you for watching. Check out the next video and have an awesome weekend. You guys are the bomb. See you later.